There was a point when I realized that if I didn't show up every single day, nothing would be moving forward in my business. I wouldn't be able to grow. I wouldn't be able to reach new people for my email list. I wouldn't be growing my podcast subscribers. There would essentially be no growth. At that time, I really thought that the issue was consistency. Welcome to the Savvy Founder Podcast, where vision meets strategy. Get ready to unlock the power of mindset and entrepreneurship and demystify the art of systemizing your business for success. I'm your host, Janae Reed, an engineer turned master mindset coach and systems expert. Are you ready to transform your business and mindset? Then let's dive in and make your vision a reality right here on the Savvy Founder Podcast. Which is why I've been talking a lot about consistency lately, because I know that I'm not the only person who has that internal dialogue that almost kind of beats you up about like, you just need to be more consistent. And so I thought that I just needed to show up more. But the truth is that it's not more consistency that you need. It really is just a different structure. So let me just paint the picture. I actually enjoy creating content, but it does depend on, do I have the time, the space, the energy, the capacity at the moment? And when you have kids, or honestly, just when your life is full in general, that's just not always available. And what would happen is I'd get momentum and then I would lose it. And then I would start again. It always felt like I was having to rebuild instead of just being able to build on what I had already built. Because regardless of whether you are a mom, you are becoming a mom, you just know that your time is limited, or you just want to be able to be more present in everyday life and don't want to have to always live online. I feel like once you have that realization that, my business really is tied to my daily output, it makes you realize that, at least for me, that's not what I wanted. And I somehow built this machine, this business that requires me to show up in that way. And I didn't want a business that only worked when I was online, that only worked when I had time, when I had the energy. I wanted something that could also continue to work and essentially hold and support me, even when I wasn't always able to be present, just because of life responsibilities and everything else that we have. And so I had to shift the way I thought and really tap back into my engineering roots again and think about, okay, how could this look if I wanted it to compound? And what about if I didn't want to have to always have a constant input of energy? And this is when I started to think about Pinterest, search-based content, really tying in systems that I had already been building behind the scenes, like funnels and automations. And then I also started thinking about content that would live longer. And I stopped thinking about, okay, how can I just show up more, and started asking myself more questions like, okay, if I really did want this to work without me, like how could I build something that keeps showing up even when I don't? Or how can I get something that's taking what I've already created and continuing to push that out for a longer period of time? And so that's why I say that consistency is not the goal, but continuity is. And what I mean by that is, consistency is when you show up every day or 5 times a week, essentially something that there's a constant input of your energy, your time required, versus continuity is when your content and system continue to show up even when you don't. And that shift from consistency to continuity is something that really did change everything for me, and that is literally no exaggeration. I know I've talked about the hurricane story on here, which was bizarre because I had already been planning on really trying to make this shift, and then it just so happened to be tested in the craziest way. But you may have already heard that on other episodes. But what I really want to talk about is that this is, like, for me, the way that this looks now, and the reason I'm so passionate about this topic specifically is because I have content that is literally scheduled out months in advance. That doesn't take me more than a couple hours a month because I've set up my foundations to be solid and to work without me. Honestly, if I didn't touch my Pinterest, I know that people would still be finding me. And that is because I have the right structure in place. And this is exactly what I've been building behind the scenes for the last year plus, honestly, since the hurricane and even before, which is really just a way to create visibility that doesn't disappear when life happens. I'll be sharing more on the podcast, and if you're on my email list, then you'll be seeing more about this there. But for now, I really just want you to start asking yourself, what in your business only works when you are actively working on it And what would it look like if that didn't have to be true? Because I think when you start doing that, you will start to actually have, live, embody the freedom-based business that I hear so many people talk about, but they don't actually experience it. They are just on this hamster wheel. And I am here to say it's actually possible to do it a different way. And I can't wait for you to start really shifting your business, because so much of your life gets to be so much more expansive when you do. I'll see you in the next one.